Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. We have a fascinating show today. You want to make sure you tune in for the entire show because I've been able to book the CEO of Cellcard Cambodia. His name is Ian Watson. Ian is a distinguished CEO. He's got a lot of companies that he's done amazing jobs with, and what he's doing with Cellcard Cambodia is absolutely incredible. They are at the forefront of the mobile network in all of Cambodia. It's network excellence, and what they're doing, which I really love, is they're providing affordable access to every single Cambodian. Ian Watson, it's an honor to have you on the show today.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. Ian, as you know, what we like to do at the beginning of the show, we like to pull the lens back a little bit and tell us about Cellcard Cambodia.
Very simply, we're the only 100% owned Cambodian mobile company, owned by the Royal Group. Nikotnia Kikmeng, Cambodian businessman, owned a number of different companies across the ICT division, EasyCom, CBS, and his wing, the mobile money company, which is just transitioned to a mobile bank, and the flagship digital company Cellcard. So we tend to be viewed as one of the most progressive, outward-looking mobile operators, not just only in Cambodia but also in Southeast Asia. We've won approaching 40 awards over the last 3 years for the fastest network, the most reliable network, the best customer service, the best value network, a whole host of work, best employer brand for the last 4 or 5 years. So we're very, very proud of the team, and a lot of people say, Ian Watson, this. It's not, it's the Cellcard team, which is the important thing. Those are the people driving the business forward, the innovators, looking at what the customer needs are, how the technology's changing, the launch of 5G, the IoT, all the digitization. To give you an example, with this COVID vaccination out, everywhere, one of the things what we can see coming is about digital tracking or tracing. Whether we like it or dislike it is a different subject. But to help people here in Cambodia, we developed one of the world's first local language app, which is a mixture of WhatsApp, Line, Viber, everything rolled into one, all in Cambodia. So it's in the Cambodian language, so they can text, send messages, voice calls, data calls, send files, all in the local language. So we've developed, we think, one of the world's first digital vaccine passports. So they download, when people get vaccinated here, they get a little card with a QR code. So you photograph the QR code, it goes into your local Cambodian app, and it's linked to the Ministry of Health. So if you go anywhere and you've asked, have you had the vaccination, you go, doop. So it can't be, scanned, it can't be copied and everything else, very safe and secure system. And then the second stage, what we're just introducing as well, is a testing app. So when you've had a test, again, it's done by barcode or QR code. It's got a date stamp of, say, 14 days. So if you try to use it on the 15th day, you can't get into a premises. So it's just giving that. And we said, to everybody, the PookMax app free. And we've got, we won't charge for it, and we'll give you 2 GB of data a month to help you use it. So it's this sort of thing where we do a lot to give back to the local communities, work closely with a lot of the communities, in terms of CSR programs, clean water programs, kids to school, free data education for the schools. So we try to build this 360-degree vision of a fully connected Cambodia, which is in line with the chairman of Royal Group's vision.
That's amazing, Ian. That's really, really great. And that's why Cellcard Cambodia is leading. Cambodia is leading everyone in the mission of making sure that you provide affordable access to every single Cambodian. Now, Ian, when we are going out to dinner or to the restaurants when they're open in America, or we go to the shopping centers, we see everybody with a cell phone. Every single adult has a cell phone. Every teenager has a cell phone. Every little kid has a cell phone. Even 2 and 3-year-old kids are on their iPad playing games or learning how to code. Everybody has a cell phone. So what's the adoption of cell phones in Cambodia right now?
It's huge, but there's two distinct adoptions here. Internet penetration here is 100% mobile, whereas fixed line internet penetration is 1.9%. So everybody bypassed straight to mobile internet via the phones. And our average customer uses between, I think, 700 to 800 megabyte of data a day. One of the highest in the world. Everything's done on the phone. So the penetration levels, both now of smartphones, is above 80%, approaching 90%, and internet mobile penetration is 100%.
That's unbelievable. I mean, so what happened in Cambodia is it looks like they just skipped the computers and the laptops and the whole thing at their homes, and they went right on mobile. Is that sort of the way that you see it over there?
Yeah, and everything's done on apps. We've got, a huge food delivery platform here. Everything's done on the apps, Grab, and all the, Ubers and everything else. Everything's done on the apps. Everything is it's becoming a platform-based economy around the apps. So the adoption of technology is taken up very, very quickly. And I think it's 60% of the population is under 30. So the huge youth segment here, which has got an appetite for technology.
That's amazing. So let's roll into that a little bit, because certain parts of the world, because their population is so young, they're becoming the next sort of boomtown. They're becoming the next Silicon Valley. They're becoming the next area of influence, because all the young people have grown up on cell phones with this super high-speed internet, and they're very interested in technology. So maybe you could touch on that a little bit. What's happening with the younger people in Cambodia, and how are they adopting, becoming sort of, nerds or technologists or people that want to play in the technology game?
Yeah, exactly. The youth segment here is driving a lot of the new disruptive businesses here via mobile technology. And the adoption, the take-up, the penetration is snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. Huge appetite here for content creation, huge appetite here for digital marketing. All these young companies springing up, offering new, unique services, whereas before we had to go to, say, Bangkok or KL or Hong Kong to get that level of service. So the appetite's there. To support that, we've got a booming economy. The government has been driving growth pre-COVID 7% per annum for the last 20 years. One of the fastest growing in the world, and this year we can see the first signs of the bounce back. And so it ticks all the boxes for a booming economy. And all the market reports and industry reports and status reports say for every 10% you increase a country's mobile broadband penetration, the GDP goes up by something like 1%. It's at some ratio of that. So this is why the economy now is, we've got a mixture of the traditional garment sector, but a very large and growing digital economy.
That's awesome. That makes all the sense in the world. The Cambodians are working very smartly. They're using their mobile networks to really learn and lead the way in that part of the world with regard to technology. It's very, very smart, Ian. Let me ask you this question, because in Silicon Valley here in America, startup funding is just hot. I mean, there's a lot of money chasing these deals. Sometimes deals that took, 3, 6, 9 months are taking days to fund now. Sometimes these startups right now, because money's cheap, and a lot of money chasing these deals, they're getting 4 to 5 times what the ask price was in their presentations. What's the investment banking or angel investment platform look like in Cambodia? Are there people that are investing in these younger people that want to take the technology world over, thanks to Cellcard Cambodia and the amount of internet that they're able to attain through their cell phones?
Yeah, yes and no. I think that the telcos especially recognise the need for, investing in the future. And the future's digital. The future, of Cambodia will be moving away from the traditional economy to the new, 5G data-driven economies. And so all the telcos invest in that sort of expertise, training. There's a few startup companies which are building, certain level of digital products and services, which some very good, some indifferent. The problem is that there's still an appetite for investment. And I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, still have some sort of, legacy of thoughts about Cambodia. I think it's when you come here and you see what a vibrant, growing, dynamic economies here, with a young youthful population, a stable government, open and fair democracy, growing economy, links to all the major cities in ASEAN. It ticks a lot of boxes. And we see now the first signs of, rather than, the South Korean, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Thai, Malaysian investors, people from farther afield seem to have an appetite of what Cambodia has got the potential to be, both from, still traditional in the garment sector and that sort of thing, but for the digital gig economy as well.
Awesome. Well, you're in early, and your mission is absolutely amazing to put Cambodia at the forefront of mobile network excellence. When we think about your company and we think about what you've been able to do, Ian, with Cellcard Cambodia, you mentioned about your team. And I think it's real important to talk about the team because you have a fine team that you've been able to assemble. How have you been able to assemble such an amazing team? Are most of the people that work there working in Phnom Penh? Are they working in Cambodia? Or do you have people all over the world on the team contributing to your great success?
Well, it's a mixture. We've got a very close-knit team, which we're a bit of a weird bunch, really, from every four corners of the world. We've got Kiwis, we've got Australians, El Salvadorians, US, Brits, Chileans, every nationality you can virtually think of. But we have a very open and transparent dialogue between us. My door's always open to anybody. We have ad hoc meetings, we discuss what we do right, what we do wrong. If we've launched something that hasn't worked, there's no recriminations. We work without fear or rancor. And our point of view, it's a bit like, the skunk technology. We launch all these wonderful, beautiful things. If we get some of them to work, we create the uniqueness in the market, which the competition is very difficult to match. And without those guys, those day in, day out, leading the troops, working, day and night to deliver, a performance of which much bigger network operators would be proud of. I'm only as good as these people who I work with day in, day out.
That makes all the sense in the world, Ian. And we want to talk about entrepreneurship a little bit later in the show, but I wanted to talk to you about 5G. A lot of people are saying, well, 5G now seems to be out there. It seems to be adopted. It seems to be everywhere. You've got 5G in Cambodia. You're running on 5G networks. But what my question is what's the next thing? Are they already working on 6G or 7G? Like, what's the next step after 5G?
Yeah, well, it's 6G already. There's a 6G World Council where the discussions are already starting about what's the next technology after the 5G, how things will be faster, better, more direct, hologram calling, 3D calling, all this sort of thing is already, I think the bones have already started rattling, and the first seeds of thought and discussion how a 6G world would look like. And I think that's only right because, the technology is ever moving faster, it's ever moving forward, and we have to look ahead to make sure we're delivering all these new services which are coming across the 5G network, and then will evolve and turn to a 6G requirement.
That makes all the sense in the world. And I'm very curious about the process, Ian. I'm very curious about how someone in Cambodia gets the cell phone in their hand and gets on the Cellcard Cambodia network. How does it work? Do they walk into a store? Is it all done online? How do they upgrade their plans? Is it on a platform? How does all that happen for someone, let's say, living in Phnom Penh right now?
But very unique market we have here in Cambodia. The market is still 99.9% prepaid. Okay, and hardly any of the carriers engage in handsets. We do the odd promotions with the big the Apples and things like that, Samsungs, but we steer away from that, and most people just come into the stores to buy a SIM, or now we're moving digital, all the new products and services, all the demos and things like that. They'd be tending to move away from being a retail presence to a more live service store about all the lifestyle service which a telco operates now. So we're in a nice position where the dealer network is so vast because they're only selling a SIM card. And, so they'll just go into a dealer, I want, a Cellcard SIM card, it's $1. The plans are very, very simple. It's that much data for $1 if you top up, blah, blah, blah. And they all understand. They are very, very knowledgeable of who's got the best plan and, who's got the best minutes or the slightly more data. And there's a number of nomads which jump every month from network to network, depending on who's offering the best sort of spot deal. So, access has never been a problem.
That is so interesting. So it's all prepaid. So I'll have my phone and I walk into one of these dealers and I really buy a SIM card and I pay in advance. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So you pay $1 or whatever, and then there's some preloaded airtime on that. And then what people do tend to either use the old scratch cards or top up through the apps or the various e-machines around the city now, or through the ATM network.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, are people paying through their phones? Has that become adopted in Cambodia, where people go to the store and they just swipe their card and their bank account gets charged, or is that not quite happening yet?
Huge. One of the wing company here. One of the mobile banking company, a mobile money transfer and payments is huge, absolutely huge here. The number of transactions and the amount of throughput. I think it's approaching, Wing move around their mobile money system, approaching $3 billion per month. Okay,
that's amazing.
And the majority, 99% of it's all done through the mobile payments. And they've always had a very strong, robust, network. And, so you go, there's a Wing store in any remote village, town, number in the city. So everybody's always got access to Wing shops and stores.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Wing. That makes all the sense in the world because they're tied together, like a brother and daughter, or like a husband and wife. It really makes all the sense in the world with what you're doing at Cellcard Cambodia. Ian, when we think about the SIM cards now, I have an iPhone, and a lot of people have Samsungs as well and different operating systems. But if I have an iPhone, can I change out my SIM card, or that doesn't really happen in Cambodia with these SIM cards that they put in?
Yeah. Everything's interchangeable, and the slight differences here. None of the operators do network locking on the handsets. So, all the dealers, when they sell that, 99% of all the handsets sold is through the dealer network and not through the operators. So the dealers have no facility to network lock. So, the customer wants to churn, it's the easy matter of pulling the SIM out, and putting a new SIM in, or with eSIMs now. A lot of people carry two SIMs and they've got two eSIMs, so they just change just like that.
That's beautiful. It makes it super easy, and I can see why it's being adopted at such a high rate and so many people using Cellcard Cambodia. When we think about data, one thing that comes to mind is there's a lot of data coming through some funnel somewhere and where does it all end up? Let's talk about security just for a minute. I know that Cellcard Cambodia has a high level and a high mission in terms of keeping all of their customers secure and safe with regard to that data. So you could maybe just talk about why that's so important to you and your company.
Yeah, you know, we hold customer details as sacrosanct to the business. You know, we hold a lot of information on them as we moving more and more into this digital age. You know, it's, you know, and I read some article about some book, and they were saying that, you know, the word phone is a misnomer now. You know, it's the custodian of your life and pictures. It's the place what tells you how to get there and tells you actually how to get there as well. You know, you send all your communications through it in terms of email, and, you know, you watch entertainment in it. So everything is done through this. So the more and more data about what people's habits, purchasing decisions and everything else is held in this. So we make sure we've always got the best in class encryption, data security, cyber security team looking at every element of the business. Okay, and we spend a huge portion of our, you know, IT budget on making sure our systems are safe and secure, you know, and to the latest update of software and everything. And we've got, you know, one of the best cyber security, you know, safeguard teams out there. So, you know, it's without recourse to us to make sure we make people's data safe.
That makes all the sense in the world, and you do a great job of it, which is why so many people use Cellcard Cambodia. You know, Ian, I want to talk about entrepreneurship here as we get toward the end of the show, and I know you've only sliced out a certain amount of time for me, so I wanted to thank you very much. But, you know, we have people all over the world that watch the show, and when I was speaking with people, telling them that I was able to book you on the show, Ian, they wanted to know what apps are sort of the exciting hot apps in Cambodia. Are there certain apps that are being used all the time? Is it Snapchat or is it, you know, Instagram? What are the big apps that people are using in Cambodia right now for all of these people and the super number of people in the population under 30 years old?
Right, it's TikTok. Again, everybody, you know, everybody's on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. They're all here. They're all downloaded. You know, you've got the local ones like, you know, Line, Viber, of course, WeChat. You know, very popular here because of the Chinese, you know, population where a lot of people do business. Telegram's another big popular one here. So, you know, that they, and again with the apps, you know, they tend to, you know, we and in terms of the tracking, you know, when we do the market research, what they're looking at, you know, sometimes is the jump from one to the other, whether for whatever reason. And then that's one of the reasons, of course, we've one of the most popular apps will be our own Mac app, which, you know, as I said earlier in the discussion, was we developed as one of the world's first local language apps. And, you know, we released it on Valentine's Day, or revealed it. You know, the take-up has been slow because we haven't promoted it while we're doing some beta trials and just the final trials and get the feedback from the public. And that'll be released on Tuesday next week. And it's a stunning piece of work. And we're confident, especially with all the digital vaccine passports and everything else which has been put on it. Okay, and the track and trace system, we think this will be a very, very popular app, and it's got a lot of social media stuff, a lot of news feeds, you know, entertainment modules, all in an app. And then we've got this payment module with Wing coming up, where we've got digital payments when you get rewarded in a rather unique way instantaneously. So a lot of good stuff happening.
A lot of good stuff, and I love it. You're going to reward people for using the app. It's really, really incredible, and you're going to be able to get a lot of adoption with this app because it sounds like there's a lot of different things that it does. And if you could keep the people on the one app and they're very excited, why would they go to any other app, which is the idea, of course, and that makes a lot of sense in the world, right?
Exactly.
I love it, Ian. It's really, really smart. And congratulations to you and your team. You know, Ian, I'd like to move our conversation a little bit toward entrepreneurship right now. We have a lot of younger entrepreneurs that do watch the show, and I'm sure there's going to be some younger entrepreneurs even in Cambodia watching the show, and they're always wondering about sort of the entrepreneurial journey. And what I mean by that is sometimes younger entrepreneurs, they don't know how to traverse across challenges. They don't know how to get around potholes, and they don't know how to pivot when they need to. And they get a little frustrated when they come across something that they weren't expecting. So maybe with your immense background and experience as a successful entrepreneur, you could maybe give these younger entrepreneurs some words of wisdom about what to do when they come across a challenge or a problem, and the fact that all great entrepreneurs have problems along the way and that they just need to keep on pushing through.
You know, and it's not textbook speak. Is one is don't give up, and two is don't be scared to ask somebody. You know, still, you know, moving into this digital age, there's, you know, you've got the young digital people, and they're coming up with things, and I look at them and say, you know, what's this? You know, I'm not afraid to ask and learn, and even though it's somebody who's, I think, about 40 years younger than me, and I you know, and maybe some people maybe at my age would have been feel embarrassed, but I don't, because it's part of learning and growing, and vice versa. And they're at a young age, you know, they go ask, whether it's the, you know, the colleagues, the friends, the mum, the dad, whoever, if they're stuck, and, you know, or somebody who's in the same business who is sort of a mentor for them, so where they can go to. And it's trying to develop, and it's difficult at the young age, you know. And some of these young entrepreneurs now, they got my admiration, because I'd never do that at that age. But, you know, don't be afraid. Just go and ask people.
I love it. Don't be afraid. Keep moving forward. Surround yourself with talented people, as Ian said before. Build a great team. And when you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask, because we don't know everything, and everybody can't know everything. And even some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world have consultants, have people, have mentors. And for the younger people watching, that's really the key, is to surround yourself with talented people that can give you insight and maybe give you a different perspective than what you have through your particular lens, experience, and background. So, Ian, congratulations on what you've been able to do at Cellcard Cambodia. It is really at the forefront of mobile network excellence, and you're providing affordable access to every single Cambodian. The Wing Mobile looks amazing. This new release that's coming out, I'm sure, is going to be quite substantial and making a giant impact in the lives of so many people in a positive way in Cambodia. And I just wanted to thank you so much for slicing out a little time today to come on the Entrepreneur Spotlight Series.
Absolute pleasure, Andy. Absolute pleasure.